Got our 8-point home from Michigan. Been breaking them down, did some shoulder breakdowns. I'm not going to show a shoulder breakdown because I leave those whole. I just chop them in half with the Sawzall. Throw them in bags, throw them in the freezer, cook them whole so I can eat them later. But how do we break down a hindquarter? How do we get our big main cuts out of this huge ham of meat here? So what I like to do is I like to go for this roast here on the outside. Follow this knee up and around here. You can kind of see that white line there. We're just gonna follow that, and there's gonna be a bone in there. We'll get down as close to that bone as we can, and that's what you want. You want to run your knife right down by that bone. So run that up through this knee until you can get in there, and then you want to come back in towards the bone until you hit the back of that leg bone. Follow that leg bone all the way down. And this piece is a bit frozen, so then once you hit the back of that, like, you'll feel another bone in there, then you'll want to start coming up. As you can see how that knife's making that trail. Then when that's done, that'll come off, and you can see nice clean bone in there. So then what I like to do is set that aside and just finish cleaning this up. So you'll kind of notice all these little muscle and fascia tissue paths in here. Just follow those. Unwrap this thing. You're gonna have a beautiful little football roast in here. Some people call the other roast footballs. This is, in my opinion, a tip roast, and this is the best cut on the hindquarter. So I'll leave these whole and try and do a roast with somebody who likes roasts. And you can break this down and get some stew out of this later, depending on how much energy you got. So there's one beautiful little roast there. Next, what I'll do is I'll come up, there's like a little tendon here that hangs off the back of the leg. I just cut these legs off right above this joint with a Sawzall because it keeps this shank shorter. I have issues with putting these in bags. I don't use sealers, so I'll cut these shorter so I can throw them all in a crock pot when I'm done. The worst thing is pulling something out in the winter and having to go get a tool from the barn to cut it in half when you're in your underwear, you're trying to cook, or however you cook. I cook in my underwear sometimes. But you don't want to go out to the barn and get your tools when it's snowing. So I'll come up the back side of this tendon. And then once I kind of get around that shank, I'll start playing down in towards that muscle again. And again, you're gonna hit that same bone, but on the back side, and then just follow it all the way up. Let that knife almost get that bone a little bit. Then all this meat's gonna pull away like that. Back this way. Gonna clean some of this junk up. And then what you want to try and do, get your knife up in here and detach this from the hip. Again, what I do, if you're not detaching this from the ball joint, where you break your pelvis in here, it's probably still going to be attached. This way. attach this piece. There's not much left on that leg, but we will go back in and we'll take off all these pieces, use them as some kind of a grind or a stew. I just got a grinder, so we'll be playing around with that this year. And then again, same exact scenario. Follow all these muscle lines. You can pull these muscles apart. Just cut all this tendon and sinew fascia away. And what you're gonna come out with is another beautiful roast. And this is one that I like to use for jerky. I think I cut half of it off, but that's okay. Use that for jerky. You can use it for grind or leave it primal and use it for a roast. This deer has a lot of fat on him. Mostly, if you shoot a buck, it's not going to have this much fat on him. He's going to be run down. This deer was hanging out with does and had a bum front leg. So I think he was just fattening up, getting ready for the rut so he could run. Again, with that, you can just pull a lot of this apart. Take it right off. And these are pretty much a little sloppily, but your three main muscle groups that you get from that hindquarter. And then of course there's a bunch of other things that you can play around with in here and get out for stew meat and grinds and all kinds of things. But when you're just breaking it down, this is a really simple way to do it. Now you got a roadmap.
That's it? Amazing what a little sharpen will do. Second tip roast. There's stew meat. Ooh, that shank a little bit. That's okay though. Make it into stew meat.
right, now we can cut our shanks down. We're gonna rip our ribs in half and then cut these into some good sections. And then everything will be ready to be packaged up. Do it all at once like this, package it all at once, it'll go a little bit quicker. If you do this and package and do this and package, it seems to take a little longer for me anyway, so. This is basically how I break down hindquarters in a super simple way. Elementary primal cuts.